Welcome, dear listener. Today I will tell you about the earthquake in Armenia. The 1988 Spitic earthquake, also known as the Leninakan earthquake, was a catastrophic earthquake of magnitude 6.8 that occurred on December 7, 1988 at 11:41 a.m. Yerevan time in the northwest of the Armenian SSR. Powerful tremors destroyed almost the entire northern part of the republic in half a minute, covering an area with a population of about 1 million people. In the epicenter of the earthquake, Spitic, the intensity of the tremors reached 10, in Leninakan 9, in Yerevan 8 points. A significant part of the republic was hit by a magnitude 6 earthquake, and tremors were felt in Yerevan and Tbilisi. The aftershock spread to a depth of 110 km. Please like this video and subscribe to this new channel and you will see many more interesting and useful things. At 8 a.m. Moscow time, all fire brigades were alerted in Leninakan. The fire was extinguished at the oil depot and in the area of the textile mill. The Yerevan City Party Committee and the City District Committees mobilized 12,000 people and sent them to the 5 most affected locations. Hundreds of cranes, bulldozers, excavators, and trucks also arrived there. On the afternoon of December 7th, more than 100 vehicles loaded with medicines, construction materials, and 5,000 tents left Georgia for Armenia. In the first hours after the disaster, units of the armed forces of the USSR, as well as the border troops of the KGB of the USSR, came to the aid of the victims. On the same day, a team of 98 highly qualified doctors and military field surgeons headed by USSR Minister of Health Evgeny Chazov flew from Moscow to Armenia. Rescue operations and medical assistance to the injured were carried out in winter, in a mountainous area at an altitude of about 1,400 meters above sea level. For 10-12 days, seismic tremors with a force of 3.5 to 5 points continued several times a day. The air temperature fluctuated from 5 to -12 C. Precipitation in the form of sleet and rain, accompanied by gusty winds, was periodically observed. The mountainous terrain of the Spitic district, a limited number of highways, some of which were destroyed, and traffic jams made it impossible to evacuate victims by road in the first 10 days. Evacuation by helicopter was possible only during daylight hours. This required the deployment of heated tents for temporary hospitalization, supplies of linen, food, and additional supplies of medicines. The Commission for the Elimination of the Consequences of the Tragedy was headed by Nikolai Ryzhkov, chairman of the Council of Ministers of the USSR, on behalf of Mikhail Gorbachev, General Secretary of the Central Committee of the CFU. The Central Office of the Central Committee Ministers arrived in Yerevan only on the 4th day after the tremors. Providing assistance to the population was complicated by the fact that medical facilities were destroyed in the affected cities. For example, in the city of Spitic, the wounded were taken to the Bazum City Stadium, where medical care was provided. In a few days, 50,000 tents and 200 field kitchens were deployed in the Republic. In total, over 20,000 soldiers and officers took part in the rescue operations, in addition to volunteers, and more than 3,000 pieces of military equipment were used to clear the rubble. Humanitarian aid was actively collected throughout the USSR. A number of states have deployed field hospitals in the disaster area, where more than 12,000 victims received medical care. So Norway has deployed to hospitals. France, Germany, Sweden, Finland, Cuba, Afghanistan won each. All republics of the USSR in 111 foreign countries, including Israel, Belgium, Great Britain, Italy, Lebanon, Norway, France, Germany, Japan, China and Switzerland, participated in the reconstruction of the destroyed areas, provided assistance by providing rescue equipment, specialists, food and medicines. The material, financial, and labor resources of the USSR were mobilized for the restoration work. 45,000 construction workers from all the Union republics arrived. After the collapse of the USSR, the Soviet reconstruction program was discontinued. Avant-garde musician Pierre Schaeffer led a French rescue team of 498 people who searched for survivors in Leninakan, and worked there until all foreign personnel were asked to leave after a plan was formulated to demolish what remained of the ruins. The total number of rescue volunteers in Leninakan was 2,000, with teams from Austria, Canada, Switzerland, the USA, Poland, and Yugoslavia. Nikolai Ryzhkov, then chairman of the Council of Ministers, was awarded the title of National Hero of Armenia for his work in rebuilding the city after the earthquake. a group of French musicians and actors gathered together with French writer and composer Charles Aznavour to record the 1989 song For You, Armenia. Aznavour, together with the Armenian-French composer Georges Garverants, created a foundation called Aznavour for Armenia and wrote a song as a call to help the Armenians. It took 6 weeks from the creation of the song to the completion of the CD, and by the time almost 2 million copies had been sold, the foundation was able to build 47 schools and 3 orphanages for the victims of the disaster. The earthquake disabled about 40% of the industrial potential of the Armenian SSR. The city of Spitik and 58 villages were razed to the ground. The cities of Leninakan, Stepanovan, and Kirovakan were partially destroyed, a total of 21 cities and more than 300 settlements. The damage amounted to $34.6 billion in 2022 prices. At least 25,000 people died as a result of the earthquake. 140,000 became disabled, and 514,000 people were left homeless. In total, the earthquake covered about 40% of the territory of Armenia. Secondary schools with 210,000 pupils, kindergartens with 42,000 places, 416 health facilities, 2 theaters, 14 museums, 391 libraries, 42 cinemas, 349 clubs and cultural centers were destroyed or fell into disrepair. 600 kilometers of highways, 10 kilometers of railway tracks were disabled. 230 industrial enterprises were completely or partially destroyed. In February-March 1989, the Armenian NPP was closed for safety reasons. The equipment of its first power unit was irreversibly damaged during decommissioning, and the second was restarted only in 1995. The conclusions and lessons, as well as the experience of emergency rescue and recovery operations in the elimination of the medical and sanitary consequences of this catastrophic earthquake, have shown the need for international agreements to provide assistance to the affected population and to develop clear rules for coordinating the actions of medical and rescue units. The events gave an impetus to the creation of a qualified and extensive system of prevention and elimination of consequences of various emergencies in Armenia and other republics of the USSR. In 1989, the State Commission of the Council of Ministers of the USSR for Emergency Situations was formed, and after 1991, the Ministry of Emergency Situations of Russia